Hey guys, and welcome back. We're going to cover a few questions today off the mathematical knowledge portion of the ASVAB. Now remember, the mathematical knowledge portion is not so much word problems as it is straight mathematical content. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right in.
Number 11 says to simplify the following, and it gives us this right here. But I'm actually going to rewrite this down here so it's a little bit easier on the camera for us. But essentially, when we're simplifying, if we look at these, what it's asking us to do is distribute these two into like one trinomial instead of two binomials. So when I'm looking at this, we usually use the word FOIL. Now, what does the word FOIL mean? Well, it just means that we're distributing, and this just helps remind us all the different terms that we need to multiply together when we are distributing. So first thing, this F stands for first. So we take the two first terms and we multiply them together. 3x times 4x is going to give me 12x squared. The O in FOIL stands for outside, so it reminds us that we have to multiply these outside terms outside of the two binomials. So 3x times the negative 6x would give me negative 18x. Then we have 5 times the 4x by doing our inside terms, so 5 times 4x is going to give me a positive 20x. And then we have our last terms, which is going to be 5 times the negative 6, giving me negative 30. Now the 12x squared and the negative 30 will stay the same, but these two terms will actually combine by doing 20 minus that 18 to give me 2x. So we have 12x squared plus, because the 20 is larger, plus 2x minus 30. So if I look through my options, that looks like our final answer here is B. For number 12, it's asking us to simplify the following expression, and it gives us this big long thing here that I've written down here to make it a little bit easier on the camera. Now, the key to this question and simplifying it is knowing some of your exponent rules. And an exponent rule says that if you have a term with the same base and you're dividing them, you can actually just subtract the exponents. The reason this works can be seen over here. If I have a to the third power divided by a to the second power, that's essentially saying that I have a times a times a divided by a times a. And then you can see this one would cancel with this one with this one, and I'm left with a to the first power. In other words, 3 minus 2. So when you simplify this rule, it's stating that, oh, if you have the same base, you can just subtract the exponents. So in this case, let's go ahead and go down the line for each one of these. 50 divided by 5, I'm going to start off and just say that's 10. Then we have x, and their exponents are 18 and 5, so we're going to go ahead and subtract those to get x to the 13th power. Then we have t to the 6th and t to the 2nd, so 6 minus 2 is going to give me t to the 4th power. Then we have w to the 3rd, w to the 2nd, so 3 minus 2 is just 1, so I just have w. And then we have z to the 20th and z to the 19th, so again, 20 minus 19 is just 1, giving me z. So if I look through my options here, it looks like we have our answer right here, this one, which is answer B. So for number 13, it's going to explain here what n factorial means. So this is saying anytime you have like a number with an explanation point after it, this explanation point means factorial. And what is a factorial? Well, it goes on to explain all of this, and I'm even cutting off a little tail end of the question, but that's fine. The real only question here is, what is 4 factorial? So this explanation says, oh, factorial is just when you do the number times n minus 1 times n minus 2 times all the way down to 1. Now, this actually looks more confusing than it is. Essentially, you're just taking the number you start with, and then you're going to multiply it by every number underneath it until you get to 1. So in this case, it would be like 3 times 2 times 1. And 3 times 2 times 1 would just be 6, and that would be your final answer. If it's a much bigger number, then yeah, you got a lot more work to do, because like 25, you'd be doing 25 times 24 times 23 times 22, all the way down to 1. So in this case, they want to know what is 4 factorial. So 4 factorial just means we'd be doing 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. 4 times 3 is 12, times 2 is going to give us 24, times 1 is still 24. So the answer to this question is D. Welcome to factorials. If a cube is 5 centimeters long, what is the volume of the cube? So remember, volume is when we are dealing with the measurement of three-dimensional space. So let's see here. So we're looking at a cube here. In this case, it says that it is 5 centimeters long. Well, for a cube, all side lengths are the same because it's a cube. So that means we're looking at 5 by 5 by 5 by 5 by 5 by 5 by 5. All of them are 5. So when we're looking at any rectangular prism, volume is measured by length times width times height. In this case, those are all the number 5. So we're just looking at 5 times 5 times 5. So 5 times 5 is 25. And then when I go ahead and multiply that by another 5, we're going to get 125 as our final answer. Meaning when I'm looking through these, we're going to be choosing option D, 125 centimeters cubed. So this says to solve for x by factoring, and it gives us this guy over here. I'm going to rewrite it right here. X squared minus 13x plus 42 equals 0. Now when we say solve by factoring, that means we're going to break this down into two sets of parentheses. And each one of them is going to have an x out front because there's no number out front here, so they're just both normal x's. And essentially, we need to find two things that when multiplied together will give us this. And the way that you do that is you try to find two numbers that multiply to this back number and add to this middle number. Now, looking at these right off the bat, 42, my number one set of numbers that I think of when multiplying to 42 would be 6 and 7. Now, the question is, how do we get these to add up to negative 13? Well, I know that a positive times a positive will give me a positive, and a negative times a negative will give me a positive. So if I make both of these negative, then they would multiply to give me positive 42, but when I add them, negative 6 plus negative 7, it would give me negative 13. So that's actually going to be our two factors here. And when we do that, we set this equal to 0. So we're not done because it says to solve by factoring. So when we're solving, what we're going to do is we're going to set each one of these individually equal to 0. So like x minus 6 equals 0 and x minus 7 equals 0. And then you just solve for x. So in this case, we're just adding the 6 to the other side to get x equals 6 and x equals 7. So this would be our final answer. So when we're looking here, we're looking for a positive 6 and a positive 7, which it looks like we get in answer A.
Hey guys, that's all we're going to cover for today. But remember, you can always click on any of these videos over here to help you keep studying for your next attempt on the ASVAB.